Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hireable Podcast, sponsored by yours truly, the CCP, Center for Career and Professional Development. My name is S1E3. I typically serve you all as a student employment and job coordinator, but today I will be your host for today's episode. Joining me today is my illustrious co-host, and sometimes keeps me in line because I kind of need that sometimes. Miss Alexa, how we doing today?
Great to see you guys. I'm also on the same team as Edson over here in the CCPD. And yeah, I do keep the whole team in line, actually. So
Don't feel that. Don't make it bigger. We're also joined by an esteemed, when I mean esteemed, I mean the esteemed guest today. This guest is going to bring the fire for y'all today, okay? We got the Miss Crystal McCloud. How are we doing today?
Hello. How are you guys?
All right. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about a very important topic, which is balance and wellness. It's very important to really define our balance, wellness, mental health, and to really make sure you are taking care of yourself. And we got an expert over here to kind of talk about that today. So Miss Crystal, as we get started with today's episode, can you tell us a little bit about your role here at USF, and what does your department do to support our students here on campus?
So first of all, thank you guys so much for inviting me to hang out today. I'm really excited, and thank you for that. Pretty much what I do at the Counseling Center is I'm assistant training director at the Counseling Center. So I play in multiple roles over there. So my primary role is to train novice or early career therapists to go out into the world and do great work. I also run what we call the Continuing Education Exchange Network with 5 other universities in the area. And I also supervise as well. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker by trade. So I also get the opportunity to work with students here on campus as well. So yes, that's what I do.
All right. Awesome. Ms. Alexa, you got the next question for us?
absolutely. So there's always a lot of talk about mental health, right? So we're kind of wondering from your perspective versus how it's spoken about or how it should be spoken about.
So there's a lot of stigma around mental health, right? And so I think, we think about mental health, especially if you don't know a lot about mental health, or we think about early days of mental health. I think the stigmatization of mental health has caused people not to talk about mental health, or to be afraid to talk about mental health, or to even only talk about mental health when something significant is happening or something severe is happening with someone. So I think that's how we used to talk about mental health. But what I would like to see, and I think we're actually moving toward this, is people normalizing mental health, normalizing stress, normalizing people experiencing feelings of anxiety, normalizing people having difficulty in life. And so ideally, we want people to normalize this, especially on a college campus, right? This is a big transition for a lot of people in college spaces. You're coming from high school to college, sometimes transition from college to graduate school. And so we want to normalize that things are not always going to be perfect. And there are also support and resources out there to kind of help you with that. So that's how I envision the world as we continue to go forward, that we are normalizing getting support, getting help, and managing the things that we're struggling with in life.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, great. So you talked about how you see or believe that mental health is being normalized, right? So I've seen a shift in the discussion about mental health over the last few years. So a question I want to ask, how have you seen the conversations for mental health kind of evolved? And I know you mentioned you feel it's being normalized, but do you feel we're still talking about mental health in the way we have in the past? Do you feel that there's been somewhat of a drop off? It's not really being talked about as much as it should? Like, from your perspective, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think we are talking about mental health more and more, right? For a lot of reasons. We have access to more. So when we talk about media, when we talk about things that we can see just from the comfort of our own homes, I feel like we are talking about mental health more. But I still feel that some people may see mental health as more symbolic versus practical. right?
Ooh.
And so when we talk about that, we want people to see mental health as something practical, something that they can actually have, they can have access to, they can utilize it, that it's okay to do that versus it being this symbolic space. And so I think as we kind of break down stigma, as we kind of break down stereotypes of what mental health looks like, that we'll get better in that area, or the world will kind of, get better in that area. But I do definitely feel like we are moving towards something great. I feel like we're talking about it more. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I know, going forward, about kind of some of the areas I feel the media has been playing in, kind of helping that area, helping us do that.
All right, awesome. So thank you for sharing that you see positively that the conversations are growing. And it's great that it is, because in the past it really wasn't a conversation at all. You know, it was not like people were really getting depressed and they didn't know how to navigate that and where to go, who to talk to about that stuff, right? So as the conversation around that has grown, is there a certain event or time you think that you can pinpoint that has kind of propelled the conversation moving forward? And what do you think has really impacted the change to have those conversations more?
So I want to say, discuss something you touched on. You talked about not having the conversations. Just me thinking about when I grew up. I'm from the South, and kind of when I grew up, you don't talk about mental health, right? And when things come up, I come from a family of you pray about it, right? And so that's kind of what I'm used to hearing growing up from being from the South. And so when we think about times now, I think that that's changed. And we talk about something that just happened recently. If we think about COVID-19 in 2020, right? The world literally changed. This was something really new. I think one of the biggest things that happened is isolation, right? We had a lot of isolation. We had seniors that couldn't graduate, couldn't go to prom. We had babies growing up in COVID. They didn't know anything outside of masks when they came into the world, right? And so a lot of times when we have so much downtime and so much isolation going on, what did we have? We had social media, right? The ways that we were communicating with people was through social media, through texting. The media was like our thing during COVID. But what I also think happened is, though we were connecting and getting a lot of support, through the media, I think a lot of mental health awareness came about during that time. People started being transparent with the struggles that they were going through during COVID. People started talking about their mental illnesses in COVID, their family, things that they were experiencing, whether it was conflict in their house during that time. You know what I mean? People really started talking about their struggles. And I think COVID was really a big shift in the mental health space for this generation that we experience it now. Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that. COVID was a big part of really pushing and moving forward. I can share, right before COVID hit, I got fired from my job, so I was searching for jobs, I was questioning my worth. So COVID really provided that opportunity for me to really evaluate and really see where I'm coming from. I know, Alexa, were you coming to USF or?
No, so I was about to say, it was almost COVID was eye-opening.
Yes.
Very eye-opening, because for me, I was part of that graduating class from high school. I didn't get to walk for my graduation. I remember we went off to spring break, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I was all of a sudden back home on my little island, and I was off at a boarding school. So mental health became,
I think,
right in my face.
Yeah.
But in a way, it was a blessing, because it did make facing some things for sure.
Absolutely.
But kind of a continuation on, of course, mental health. I feel like my generation, as well as the others, we always kind of want to do this a balance. How can we kind of balance wellness, kind of our work life, student life, all of that?
So let's start, I'm gonna talk specifically just overall wellness and kind of what that looks like. People always hear me say this: you need to center yourself in everything you do.
Yes.
Okay. And some people may say, oh my God, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm selfish? Does that mean these things? I'm like, no. Before I make any decisions in my life, I ask myself, Crystal, are you okay with that? I consider me first, right? And even if I still have to make a decision that I don't want, at least I checked in with myself first to make sure that it was something that I was okay with doing, I was willing to do, okay? So I would say, let's start with that, centering yourself first. I think oftentimes we get so caught up in the things that we have to do for everyone else, right? That we tend to put ourselves last. One of the biggest things I talk about in my practice is the ability to set boundaries. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people don't know how to set boundaries. A lot of people do not. And a lot of people are afraid to set boundaries. Because when I start setting boundaries, I may make someone upset. I may make someone mad at me. You know, what if I lose a friend? What if I lose a family member? Right? So I think in order to be successful and maintain balance throughout our life, we have to have boundaries. We have to be able to take care of ourselves and center ourselves. Okay. So when I think about our college population here, some of the bigger things I get to see is, how do I manage my time in my life coming from high school to college, right? How do I get to do that? Well, when we're in high school, our parents or our caregivers manage our life and our time, right? They tell us to get up, get breakfast, I'm picking you up, I'm dropping you off, all the things. And then you get dropped off on college campus, right? I remember I got dropped off, okay? My friends took me, okay? And it's like, oh, I get to do this, I gotta figure out this. No one tells me I have to get up and go to class. Nobody tells me how to manage my time. I'm doing all of this stuff on my own. So what we tend to try to help students do is, how do I manage my time? How do I manage classes? And how do I manage the expectations of my family member back at home? A lot of students have to manage a lot of expectations, right? So we're helping them really create that holistic look for themselves, right? How do I set boundaries on campus at home? How do I make sure I'm sleeping well? How do I make sure I'm eating well? Believe it or not, a lot of folks are not eating. They're just going, right? And so I think being able to find that balance is to really start with centering yourself, because if you don't, how do you know what you need to obtain balance? If I don't prioritize myself, how do I know what I need to obtain the balance?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Couldn't
So
agree more.
that's kind of where I start typically helping people put themselves in the center of their own life.
Yeah. So kind of continuing on that, even if a student is like trying to the best of their abilities to do all of these things, like what are signs that they should look out for to kind of reach out for that help?
Absolutely. So when I think about this, I think about some of the things that we know. We know our bodies, right? We know when our bodies are not functioning the way we want it to function, right? When we get close to things like burnout, exhaustion, things like that, the first thing that starts to happen is our body is responding.
Yes,
right?
yes,
So whether that
yes.
be neck pain, back pain, fatigue, exhaustion, right? Irritability. Now, right? I'm a very high energy, go lucky woman. But when I'm starting to feel irritable, I'm checking in with, okay, what's going on with you, Crystal? Are you overwhelmed? Are you burning out? Are you not balanced enough? Are you not centering yourself, right? So I would say start looking out for things like that. Fatigue, lack of motivation, irritability, right? Inability to get your assignments done, inability to manage your grades. Are your grades going up? Are your grades going down? Are you able to manage that? Are you sleeping well? Are you isolating? Are you doing the things that you know you normally do? Are you not doing things that you normally typically do on a day-to-day basis? Paying attention to your appetite, weight gain, weight loss. And if these things become consistent and chronic over a few months span of time, you come up to the counseling center and get support, right? And we want to be able to help you with that. We can help students with that. So just be in tune with your body, what's happening with your mind and your body, because when things start shifting, you have to be able to recognize that so you can get the support you need.
Mind, body, and soul.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I also feel like social media is a big thing, right? How do you think social media like plays into this concept of wellness? How do you think it affects it in society? I feel like there's just so much that plays into it.
Absolutely. So social media is the thing. Social media is the thing. Look what we're doing right here today, right? So I feel like when it comes to social media, right? Social media can be really good for us, and social media can have its downfalls as well. Okay. I think we have the things that I think about when I think about social media being good for us. I think about the support social media can give us. I think about the resources social media can give us. I think about the connection it can give us as well. But I also understand the pressures of social media as well. Social media can tend to pressure people to feel like they should be living a certain way. They should have certain things. They should be further along and all of those different things. So I think social media can definitely shape or is shaping kind of the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about the things that are happening around us. So what I try to do is, even for myself, right? How do I manage social media? I don't have any apps on my phone. No apps. So I'll take about 6 months, 7 months, and just take a break from social media, right? That's everything. Every year I do that for myself, right? Because as seasoned as I am in the game, and I teach people this all the time, I'm still what? Human.
Yes.
I'm still human, right? I still go through a lot of those different things, but teaching ourselves, how do we make social media work for our good, right? I tell students all the time, when you feel like, or people all the time, when you feel like social media is causing you to feel bad about who you are or where you are in life or that you're not enough and all of these things, it's time to take a break. And that's at any age. That's at 18 all the way up to 100, right? So I just want people to use social media safely. That's what I say, right? Because I think it's very important to use it in a safe space, but also you can use it to your advantage. So I don't know that I have is it working or not working? I think this depends on how we're using it. Absolutely.
And I couldn't agree. A social media cleanse every
Oh
now and then.
yes.
It
I
hits.
started my cleanse in December.
There you
And
go.
I haven't been-
Oh my
no
god.
apps, no apps, no apps.
That's good.
No. Maybe in the summer I'll pop back.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great questions, by the way.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, my girl. So Alexa talked a lot about the student perspective as they're in college and balancing and dealing with everything. But at the Career Center, we work with students and we want to help them get part-time jobs, internships, full-time jobs, and stuff like that. And that job searching process, interviewing, finding, looking can be very stressful, right? It can be very stressful. They get in their head, they say to themselves that, I'm not gonna get the job, I'm not gonna apply, I'm not, I don't have experience. They do all these different things. So as students are getting ready to do job searches, whether it's for part-time, internships, full-time, what are some strategies or advice you want to give to students to maintain that balance and motivation throughout that process? Because it can be a lot.
Absolutely. So a part of our portion of our seminar and internship program is to talk about some of these difficult things because our students are transitioning out, right? So we do things on interviewing, negotiating. We talk about how do we do those things. If I can say one thing first, I would say this: when we're searching for jobs, I think sometimes if we're not selected as the candidate or we don't get the call back, people can immediately internalize not being good enough.
Yes.
Right? I'm not good enough for the job. I don't have the skills for the job, like you said it. You know what I mean? And it's automatic defeat or low motivation, right? And so I just want people to understand that the market is really different right now, right? But a lot of people are applying for the same job, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally now interviewing 20 people for one slot. Right? And I found myself, even as an interviewee, making sure that I'm providing affirmation and saying, hey, this was a great interview, but when you still have one slot and you have over 100 candidates, especially coming out of college, right, that can really take a toll on anybody. So some of the things that I always say is this: if we're applying for jobs, do not apply for jobs 5 days a week, all day, right? Don't do it, right? Because that becomes overwhelming. I always tell people, hey, why don't you take 2 or 3 days a week, tweak your resume, your cover letter, right? And apply for jobs maybe 2 or 3 days a week. The other days, you're gonna fall back, right? Give yourself a break from the fatigue, right? Because it can be a lot of disappointment around that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's probably one of the biggest things that I talk a lot about. And also just knowing who you are, right? I always tell people that we're gonna have a lot of disappointment in life. But when I think about greatness, and I'm like, how do we internalize knowing that we're great despite some of the things that are happening with us? And sometimes life can kind of shoot these things at us, and it's like we'll doubt ourselves really quickly, right? Yeah. And I'm like, what is already within you that's great? Not this job acceptance, not this salary, right? Not this particular thing or that thing, but you gotta already know that, right? And I think that really helps in the job market process because it can be a lot of disappointment around that. So I'll just say, start early, start negotiate, start looking in the market and say, hey, what do I actually want to do? Don't just apply for things, just apply. I hear that too, right? Narrow it down, right? But take care of yourself in the process. Spend some time just making sure that you're taking a break from the job hunt. Continue to be confident in who you are and your abilities and kind of go from there.
Awesome. So you just talked about as they're searching and applying for jobs, right? You talked about student transitioning from high school to college. They get through the job searches, they actually get the job offer, and the transition from college to now the workforce. And that's another different transition as well. It's different, right? Or they might be transitioned to grad school, or to some people, they might do both. They might be in grad school and they're working.
Absolutely.
So for the transition to the workforce and or grad school, what are some tips or advice you have for students in regards to what does that look like, and how to maintain that balance and wellness as they're transitioning and as they're within their career.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna say this: give yourself grace. Okay, give yourself grace. You are literally making one transition from one way of living to the next. Give yourself grace. Give yourself time to adjust. Okay, you are on your own path. You beat into your own drum. Use the support system that you have around you. Okay, that can be a difficult transition. Now I am on my own doing all the things, paying bills, paying rent, managing relationships. I got to get up and go to a job that's 40 hours a week. I'm just used to working 10 hours a week, right? I mean, I know, right? So that adulting,
humbling,
and I'm like
I'm
like a grown adult and still don't want to adult all the time, right? So give yourself grace, give yourself compassion as you transition. Give yourself time to adjust, and don't rush it. These are times where you are enjoying your life. This is times where you get to experiment. These are times where you just get to try different things. So be patient with yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Be patient. And obviously, I mentioned earlier, if you start seeing different things that you know are abnormal for you, things that you may need some extra support on, then you reach out to your support systems and the help that you can get in that process.
You know what I always say I regret saying when I was younger? I can't wait to grow up.
I'm not as old as Ed's no more. But I think that too.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
easy.
seasoned.
That's the word I use. I said I'm a seasoned. Yeah, so it's a lot going on out here even for seasoned folks, right? Yes.
Hey, even less seasoned, it's still kind of hard.
Yes.
I could relate so hard with, honestly, 100% of everything you brought up today. Yeah. But kind of as we wrap up, you've given us a lot of amazing information, and our students, I hope you can take away some amazing stuff.
They better.
Yeah, they really do. For us, like, what can we leave the students kind of like actionable items? Maybe three things they can like do in their life, kind of stay on that path of like wellness and kind of self-checking, all of that.
So I think I've already said the first one, right? This is always going to be number one: center yourself, right? And a part of centering yourself is going to be making sure you're checking in with yourself and doing the things that you need to do to maintain balance in your life, whatever that is. That's not going to look the same for me. It's not going to look the same for you. You do what works for you. So that's going to be my number one. Number two, I'm going to say, what are your support systems out here, right? I know sometimes everyone doesn't have the same level of support, but who do you have in your corner, and what do you have in your corner to help you, right? How can we go from thinking things are happening to us versus for us, right? How do we go to that mindset, and how do we think about that? And finally, number three, give yourself grace and self-compassion, because you deserve it. You deserve it. I promise you. Those are my things.
Yeah, for real, my job. That was really good.
It's over. It's a wrap. Wow, this was a great conversation to our audience. I know we had some laughs today and we were kind of clowning around, but balance and wellness, mental health is very serious, so make sure that you're focusing on you. If you're not focused, how do you expect everything else to be focused, right? So let's make sure that you're working on yourself. Alexa, always doing great. You bring great perspectives, and I appreciate you being my co-host today.
Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Absolutely. And my girl Crystal,
Hey, the Counseling Center, we are here to help you. We see all enrolled students, whether you are undergrad or graduate level, okay? We are here to help you. Timely care is available. Talk Now is available. The resources are here for you, so reach out to us. We are a fun group, okay?
Yeah.
There you go. They are. Yeah, we appreciate if you leave any feedback or what you thought about this episode through our social media. We appreciate it. Again, thank you both. And as we conclude, go Bulls.
Stay tuned for Campus Conversations with Alexa and Gabby.
Hey everyone, welcome to another segment of Career Conversations. I'm here with Gabby as usual. So we're going to answer a couple questions for you guys today, and we're going to gauge both our perspectives on these questions as they come from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
So Gabby, take it away.
All right. So what is the most important thing about balance and well-being, you would say?
Balance and well-being is always tough, but I think the most important aspect is to always make sure you're conscious of it. As you progress in your career, as things get busier, you always want to make sure that you carve out time to figure out what is balance and well-being to you, because I think it also looks different for everyone involved.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important, especially when you go into a job. You have to see, like, is that going to be, can you balance, like, your work-life balance? And, like, is that going to bring you wellness? Especially, like, finding hobbies and stuff after work, I think is really important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I always think that it's important for everyone to also know the resources they have. So figuring out where those resources are available to you so you make sure balance and wellness stay a priority, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I know some workforces have special things that they give out to their employees, like gym memberships or anything like that. And I think it's really important that you recognize where those are and you find them, or you find your own little niche thing that you really enjoy, and make sure, like, you don't focus anything on work and you just, like, you're zen almost, I feel like.
Couldn't agree. Okay, what's our next one, Gabs?
All right. What's something you realized about balance and wellness in, like, the workplace?
I think the biggest realization for me is that even a hustle mentality, you know, you want to keep progressing and all this. It's just at the end of the day, it's important to make sure that balance and wellness stays a big aspect of your life. Even as you progress and things get busier, it's just about reinforcing that in your mentality and your behaviors, all of it.
I think one of the biggest things for me, like, especially as a student, was, like, actually carving out my time for balance and wellness, especially, like, between a part-time job and classes. I think one of the biggest things was, like, finding, like, things that I like to do, like, that won't have me focused on, like, classes or work. So I don't know, like, for instance, like, I love doing word searches and just, like, being, you know, chill and just taking my time with it and, like, not focusing on that. But I think carving out the time was, like, the biggest realization, like, trying to find that time between work and school to get my balance and wellness.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering, is there any, like, epiphanies you had that when you just started working, like entering the workforce?
I think it was, like, a whole new perspective of, like, because I mean, before this role I had never really worked in, like, a office space like this, and I think I really like I had a big realization on how important balance and wellness is, and not to take anything home from work and just, like, leave work.
That's a very fair piece of
Yeah.
advice, for sure.
And, you know, once you're, like, off the clock, you're off the clock, and that's it. And you just gotta, like, let everything else roll off your shoulders until the next day.
Yeah, I think for me, I realized that it's honestly really important to like what you do. I know everyone says that, but you spend a lot of your time working. That's the
really
reality of the society we live in. So actually enjoying what you're doing makes a big difference. And obviously we can't all love what we do right away, depending on what you need money-wise. I get it. But at least, like, setting goals to get towards what you would like to do, I think that's very important.
Yeah. We talk about those transferable skills also that you get out of it. But, and I think, honestly, some of those skills you can even use within your balance and wellness.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Anyway, that's a short segment with us today. So, Gabby and Alexa, out.